is Shilpa and welcome you all to Season 2 of Ohh Folk. I cannot express enough in words how excited, happy, elated I am to be back with this podcast, to be able to talk and connect with you guys on the other side of this microphone and computer screen. Hope you guys have been good. In terms of pandemic, this year has been definitely looking more hopeful and things have been trying to get back to normal, which is great, right? Personally, I started this year with a resolution to take more care of myself because, to be honest, I have not been doing so in last few years, and I have also started reading more. This season, we will delve into more stories from countries that we haven't explored in Season 1. We will also look into how the countries that we have picked the stories from have influenced the world and made an impact globally. Actually, how they have become part of popular culture today in our special segment called Pop Shots. For this season, I have also decided to choose a theme. This season's theme is Enchanting Asia, where I will bring to you stories from different countries of the Asian continent. Being from India, I have always wanted to explore more about Asia, learn more about the culture, and identify the cultural similarities. From Asian food to the traditional attires, from festivities to evolution of languages, everything has so much history involved that there is no dearth of stories. I want to share this journey of exploring and uncovering Asia with you guys. And there's so much waiting for us that I cannot hold my excitement. No festivity or celebration is complete without food. For any community of people, food is an unanimous source of joy and happiness across the globe. Food brings everyone together. Good food always lights up our faces and fills our heart with happiness. That's why I thought of starting Season 2 with a stunning food story. Not just any food, but a very special, very loved dish from Asia, all the way from Japan, sushi. This Japanese cuisine is no more restricted by geographic limitation. It is a global appetite pleaser and one of the top favorites for any food lover. You go to any part of the world, you will get sushi in some form. Undoubtedly, sushi is one of the most loved foods from Asia. On top of that, June 18th is celebrated as the International Sushi Day. And today is June 22nd when the first episode of Season 2 goes live. So I had even more reasons to look back and dig into the very old history of this classic Japanese gastronomical wonder. The Japanese word su means vinegar, and shi is from meishi, which is the Japanese word for rice. Hence, sushi stands for vinegared rice, or more commonly, sour rice. History of sushi goes back to at least 1800 years. The backstory of sushi is a very interesting tale of how a very simple dish evolved into this globally beloved food. There are many folk tales associated with the origin of sushi. One such folklore suggests that, according to an ancient Japanese wife story, an aged woman began hiding her rice pots in osprey nests, fearing that thieves would steal them. Ospreys are more commonly known as sea hawks or fish hawks. At a later point, she returned to her pots only to find out that the rice had started to ferment. Moreover, fish fragments from osprey's meal leftovers had mixed into the rice. Not only was the concoction savory, but also the rice helped in preserving the fish, thus giving birth to a new way of lengthening the life of any seafood. However, there is not much authentication around this tale, and some suggest that it might be just a fictional story. More documented sources suggest that sushi seems to have begun life sometime between the 5th and 3rd century BC in the paddy fields alongside the Mekong River that runs through the modern-day Laos, Thailand and Vietnam in East and Southeast Asia. Why? Because the shallow waters, like we know, were an ideal home for fish cultivation, and farmers often went fishing to add to their regular inadequate diet. But there was a problem. Whenever a catch would land, most of it would get spoiled because of the warm temperature. To stop the decomposition, they started using the glutinous rice cultivated in the bordering fields as an excellent preservative. Now, there is a reason a sushi kitchen is also called a pickling place. What is a pickle? On the most general level, pickles are foods soaked in vinegar solution like pickled cucumbers, or salt brine like kimchi, or a solution very similar that helps prevent spoilage by killing most of the bad bacteria, or by letting grow good bacteria that makes a food less vulnerable to the bad spoilage-causing bacteria. Now they applied the same concept to preserve fish. The fish were cleaned and bones removed, then rubbed well with salt and placed in a barrel to dry for many months. Then the salt was scraped off and the bellies of the fish stuffed with rice before being arranged in wooden barrels, pressed down with heavy stones and let to rest. The rice fermentation will begin and produce lactic acid. The acid, along with salt, restricted the bacterial production in the fish. This technique is sometimes called pickling, and is the reason why a sushi kitchen is called a suke bar or pickling place. Whenever there was a need, the barrel was opened, the rice scraped off, and the fish eaten. The smell was disgusting, but the fish was soft and delicious. This initial form of sushi began to spread among people. From the banks of Mekong, it traveled to down south, to what is today identified as Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and also traveled north into different provinces of modern China. With multiple invasions and people migrating, sushi traveled even further. By 4th century BC, this was in mainland China. For many years henceforth, this remained a poor man's food, especially consumed by farmers. But with time, the food started gaining popularity and became a widely consumed item even among upper classes in the society. A 4th century Chinese dictionary mentioned salted fish being placed in cooked rice, causing it to undergo a fermentation process. This may be the first time the concept of sushi appeared in print. Until this time, sushi still didn't have any connection with Japan, although today it is considered the most popular Japanese dish. Then, how did it become a part of the Japanese culture? Well, much later, around 9th century, sushi traveled to Japan and also started gaining popularity with the spread of Buddhism. Buddhist norm of prohibiting from any type of meat consumption meant that more Japanese people started eating fish as part of their staple diet. But the smell was still repulsive. Steps started being taken to reduce that. Now, instead of fermenting for very long, the process was reduced to just a few weeks. Due to the reduced time, less acid was produced, thus reducing the smell and making it more appetizing. This also made the rice less bitter. Now it was pleasingly tangy and can be eaten with fish. This way, it was the Japanese people who made sushi a complete dish for the first time, eating the fermented rice with the preserved fish. This combination of rice and fish was known as nare sushi or aged sushi. Within 9th to 14th century, slowly and gradually, this fusion of semi-fermented fish and sour rice was no longer just a staple of the poor. It was now being enjoyed by nobles. By 15th century, Japan was in the middle of civil war. Wartime across the globe has given birth to many new and unique food items. Sushi is one of them. During the wartime, chefs found that by adding more weight to rice and fish, fermentation time can be reduced. They also discovered that the pickled fish did not need to reach full decomposition in order to taste great. This new sushi preparation was called mama nare sushi or raw nare sushi. In 1606, the capital of Japan was moved from Kyoto to Edo. With more people moving in, especially the merchant class, the city turned into a hub of Japanese nightlife. By the 19th century, Edo has become one of the world's largest cities, both in terms of land size and population. Here, sushi makers used a fermentation process that originally evolved in the mid-1700s, placing a layer of cooked rice seasoned with rice vinegar alongside a layer of fish. These layers were compressed in a small wooden box for about 2 hours and then sliced into small bite-sized pieces. This new method greatly reduced the preparation time for sushi, and consumption of sushi started growing. Now paint the timeline in your mind and let's jump straight to 1820s, a time that gave birth to the modern day sushi. A chef named Hanaya Yohei came to Edo, modern day Tokyo. He is often considered the creator of modern-day Tokyo-style nigiri or handmade sushi. He took advantage of a more modern, speedy fermentation process by adding rice vinegar and salt to freshly cooked rice and letting it sit for just a few minutes. He then served it in a hand-pressed fashion, topping a small bowl of rice with a thin slice of raw fish, fresh caught from the bay. Because the fish was so fresh, there was no need to ferment or preserve it. Sushi could be made in minutes now. Yohei's fast food sushi proved quite popular. These bite-sized delights were affordable and delicious. Nigiri became the new standard in sushi preparation. The Great Kanto earthquake that struck Tokyo killed more than 100,000 people and left even more people homeless. This forced many sushi chefs to leave the city. That's how they started spreading the nigiri sushi in other parts of the country. Also, the land prices dropped significantly. Sushi vendors were now able to buy plots and move their small stall inside, forming what could be considered the first generation sushi restaurants. These were known as sushi-ya and they sprang up throughout the capital city. But how did sushi travel outside Japan? How did it come to America and become an integral part of the popular culture here? That we will explore in the next segment, Pop Shots. Sushi started becoming popular in the West around 1900s. One of the earliest mentions of sushi in America appeared in 1904 in a Los Angeles Herald article. regarding a luncheon thrown by a prominent socialite. However, sushi began gaining popularity in the United States a few years after the conclusion of World War II. LA was the first American city to successfully embrace sushi. In 1970, the first sushi bar opened in Hollywood and catered to celebrities. This was the key in making sushi a right-away American success. Soon after, several sushi bars opened in New York and Chicago, thus spreading throughout the US. American sushi varieties like California roll, spicy tuna roll, Philadelphia roll came to prominence. Today, sushi is still evolving. While traditional nigiri sushi is still served throughout the US, creative additions like cream cheese, mayonnaise, deep-fried rolls have evolved as fusion Western varieties. There are even vegetarian options, which is also a modern-day innovation. Now we talk so much about sushi, but don't talk about making? That's a sin, because sushi making is an art in itself. Only few people can do it, and even fewer can perfect this art.
Nigiri sushi is something that is truly an art form, and it's something that is a skill that you'll work a lifetime to perfect. You're going to dip your hands in water and then pull to the side and clap your hands free of the extra moisture. You're going to collect your warm seasoned sushi rice and you're going to form it into a rice ball. And this ball of rice is important because you're going to gauge it on the size of the fish slice that you're preparing, but also to the guest that you're serving. So if you're serving a large person or a small person, you're going to make the nigiri in proportion to them. Here we use the right amount of wasabi for the right fish. Light fish gets light wasabi. A beefy or heavier fish with a heavier oil content will get a heavier amount of wasabi for balance. It's very important that you're shaping the rice to the size and the cut of the fish. With my thumb, you'll see I'm creating an air pocket here that will remain in the center of my nigiri. I'm not squeezing the fish as hard as I can. I'm delicately shaping the fish around the rice. I am keeping that pocket of air alive inside the center of the rice. I'm not squeezing the rice, but I am shaping the fish around the structure of the rice. The tail and head of this nigiri slice is touching my hand. When I place it on a plate, the fish will touch the plate on both sides. And I'm creating an arch in the back of the nigiri sushi. I'm also shaping it vertically. And this is important because we are symbolizing the freshness of the fish and the life of the fish. As if it were swimming in the sea, you would see the fish cresting up above the surface of the ocean as it's swimming. And we recreate that here in the presentation of the nigiri sushi.
That was Chef Rob Ruiz from the Land and Water Co. explaining how to make nigiri sushi. And you can find his video on his YouTube channel, Chef Epic. I will have the link in my description, so if you are interested, do check it out. He has this and many more amazing food and recipe videos on his channel. From folklore to the nearest sushi restaurant, this food has truly time-traveled through history and has landed on your plate. This is the most fascinating part of doing this podcast. I get to know so much and also take you guys through this amazing journey where these fascinating stories and characters in these stories juxtapose seamlessly the past to the present and help us realize how those passing years are still relevant. That's all I have for the very first episode of Season 2. I hope you liked it and please continue to be my companion on this journey as we explore the unexplored tales, travel the unknown culture paths through traditional stories and folk tales. Please do share and spread the word about Ohh Folk. Follow and subscribe Ohh Folk on any podcast platform of your preference. It is on all major platforms like Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and so many more. My friends in India, Besides all these platforms, you can also hear me on JioSaavn and Ghana. If you are listening me on Apple Podcast, I would be immensely grateful if you leave your review. And you can also join me on social media platforms. Ohh Folk is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where I share updates and behind the scenes stories. If you want to share something with me, do connect on social media. In the next episode, we will be traveling to Taiwan in East Asia, so stay tuned. For now, goodbye and have a wonderful rest of your week.